In a world where there is a ton of clones and homages and direct copies of the Gen 3 Glock, believe it or not, this Derya Arms is kind of out of the norm. So today we're going to check that out. Thanks for checking out this video. Hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Become a member, help the channel grow organically. Type that into your Googles, and you never know what it might say. Oh, look at that. It looks perfectly good there on that background. But yeah, who knows what happens when you type that into Google. You might find some interesting information. But yes, inside this box is a firearm that was interesting when I first heard about it because it was slightly different from everything else. But now that I've put my hands on it, it's even slightly more interesting. We practice good English here at the Yemeni show. But this is the Derya Arms DY9, chambered in 9mm, and has one of the shiniest manuals I've ever seen. It looks like it's for a camcorder or something. But that's fine. You know what? We don't need that. But inside the box, you get your firearm and a bunch of cool shiznit. Oh yeah, that didn't come with it. I threw that in there. Get over here. So this is a Glock clone. It's pretty obvious from looking at it, but it is optics cut. This is the special edition with the slide cuts, top and sides, and the gold Cerakoted barrel. They cheaped out. However, this whole gun is cheap, man. You can routinely get the DY9 under $300. This is the special edition, has the fiber optic sights, all that fun stuff, and the cuts and the optics cut. This is roughly $325 normally, which is still a pretty solid deal for all the toys you get with it. Inside the box, you get the gun, total of 4 back straps, which is pretty cool. You do have a roll pin for changing that out, no biggie. And you get a cleaning kit, a gun lock, which is funny enough has the keys installed in it and not in a bag. Never seen that before. As well as plates that are easy to read. I like that. So good on you, Derya, for doing this. Now, Rock Island used to be the importer of these, and they are no longer the importer because Derya has started a U.S. manufacturing out of somewhere, I believe. That's really good there. Let's see. Fires without magazine. There you go. Jacksonville, Florida. Everybody makes their stuff in Florida. Old people and guns come out of Florida. That seems kind of weird. But it comes with one Glock-compatible magazine, which we'll be taking a full look at here. We'll go ahead and move the box out of the way because, quite frankly, it is blocking this really cool 3D printed sign that Mouse made me. And it's a very cool thing. There you go. Put that there. Hey, look at that. It's pretty good advertising. But yeah, let's get back to this. So everybody makes a Gen 3 clone now. Literally everybody. I'm pretty sure your mom makes one. I was over at her house and I saw a manufacturing facility. Thought it was meth. Probably a Glock 3 Gen 3 clone manufacturing. But no, it is in every dimension almost identical to a Glock 19. This is a Gen 5 Glock 19 MOS, so very similar. Doesn't have lightning cuts or anything like that, but let's face it, Glock is boring as shiznit, and they wouldn't bother. But yeah, as you can see, size, has a little bit more of the Gen 3 squared off body on it, but the plates, one difference is this plate looks a little bit shorter, which is interesting. Yeah. Overall length is actually a little bit longer because the DY9 has a magwell, which I appreciate and we'll talk about a little bit. Both have undercuts, both have trigger safeties. This one actually has an extended slide lock versus the standard Gen 5s and Gen 3s, which all have your standard slide lock slide releases. Although Gen 5s stick out more proud than Gen 3s. But we'll be using that for other comparisons here later in the video. I just wanted to show you that. The Glock mag, compatible mag that it comes with, I believe is a KCI, even though it does say Turkey on it. I think it was KCI that makes the clone mags that have the inserts in them. Don't 100% quote me, but it looks very similar to a KCI. I also have here a Glock 17 rounder and a Glock 15 rounder. One thing to note right off the bat, this magazine does limit your capacity or your capability. 15 rounders will not lock in. It's the same kind of problem I have with my SIG 5 X5 Legion 320, and the magwell is what affects compatibility. If you took the magwell off, then you would have compatibility with your standard Glock 19 mags. You can take the magwell off if you want. However, I like it on there because it gives it almost a Glock 17 length frame. This is a, well, where'd it go? Here it is. Here's an actual Glock 17 mag, and when it's in there, you can see it actually fits really nicely with this magwell. And then you have 17 round capacity, so it makes this more like a Glock 19X, which is pretty cool. Has a little bit of a shelf on the gun, so you can have a place to rest your thumbs. Also, it's stippled, so you have a bit of a memory notch, which is nice to see. Has fiber optic front and rears. These fiber optics look like they're Amazon specials, but again, this gun is barely $300, so you can forgive a little bit of cheapness. The grip texture on it is minimal at best. It looks like it has a lot of gripping on it, but it really doesn't, because these cuts, how thick they are in the vertical versus the horizontal. So there should be another line through each of these. It would actually give it more grip. So it would make it, instead of, 3 lines per quadrillion nano hair whatevers, it would give it a bit more grip texture because it's actually very slick, believe it or not. As much as I dislike saying it, this Glock has a better grip in terms of the pyramids that are on it. The trigger is nicer than the Glock. They look very similar, but the trigger blade fits flush when it's depressed. Not so much it sits proud on the Glock. I know that's a minor gripe to some people, but when you put, 5, 6, 7, 8 million rounds through a gun, it eventually adds up and eventually starts hurting your finger. Same exact takedown. Some guns use paddles and different designs, but this one uses the exact same takedown. Overall, it feels just like a Glock, which is kind of a boring thing in my opinion, but that's not the point of this review. Is the gun any good? That's the point of this review. And I bought this gun using money that comes from both the live streams and subscriptions and all the things you guys do for me, so make sure that you're hitting the likes and all that stuff. Yeah, pretty nice, solid feeling gun. The reason I have a Gen 5 Glock 19 next to me is that this is Gen 5 compatible, believe it or not. But let's go ahead and talk about the trigger before we start talking about parts. Has the same take-up as a Glock. As you can see, the trigger safety. A trigger safety on a striker fire gun literally does nothing but interacts with the frame of the gun. There's a small cut in there where the trigger goes back, and unless you depress the trigger safety, it cannot continue past it. So it does nothing internally. This has nothing to do with the sear, disconnector, striker, nothing. It's literally just a piece of plastic designed to stop the trigger from coming back. That's all it is. But the trigger feel, like I said, it's got some take-up like most of these pre-cock strikers do, and just pull right through. Actually has a better break, I think, than the Glock does, and the reset is very positive. Not sure who makes this trigger, but it is actually, in my opinion, better than the Glock. Go ahead and show you the Glock is clear, no mag. All right. So Glock has the same pullback, and it's not a bad trigger in the Gen 5. That is definitely a longer reset, but it's a pretty solid reset. On a Gen 3, it's way more spongy. But on this gun, like I said, it's... You know what? I'm going to say it. This is a much better trigger than a Gen 3 Glock. It's almost better. Actually, I'm going to say it. It's better because it has a shorter reset than the Gen 5. Compared to a 1911, that's like saying a Toyota Camry is equal to a Ferrari. But yeah, very nice. The optic screws are hex head, or excuse me, they're Torx. I hate those. Torx makes no sense. So it's really cool to take a hex or an Allen key and then add little ridges in it that give you a chance to strip out your screw heads. Good job, manufacturers. Aesthetics over functionality. That's the way we do things. But yeah, very nice. Let's go ahead and take her apart. In order to do that, we check it for clear. Go ahead and take the takedowns, drop the striker, and then you just pull the top off. Has the triple nested spring that the newer Glocks have, which actually I always prefer. This absorbs recoil so much better than that single plastic guide rod with one spring on it. And that was technology from the 80s into the 90s, so I understand why it's kind of old, but still, it really should not be there anymore. This barrel is pretty cool. It is your standard 3.9 or whatever it is for the Glock. I'm sorry, this thing's been test fired. It's a brand new gun, but it's obviously been test fired, and they did not coat the inside or on the feed ramp, which is nice because it prevents me from having to go back and redo it. There's your rifling. It looks pretty good in there, actually. I like that. The inside of the slide has your, literally, it's a copy of a Glock, except for one slight difference. It does have a takedown. Excuse me. So you can see the end of the roll pin there. So you got to drive it up and out in order to remove the extractor. I don't know if they think that's a better design, especially since it has the cover back here. They could have just as easily put the striker plunger or the extractor plunger tube in there. Maybe they wanted to change it up just a bit because of the MOS mounting, or who knows. I'm not going to speculate too much, but that's an interesting change. It is still Glock front sight compatible. However, it's a reverse screw on the factory sight, which is interesting as well. Not too bad. Taking a look at the frame, looking from the top down, it looks very Glockish, although the locking block is a aluminum piece. See, that's steel. Yeah, so the locking block appears to be either coated aluminum or plastic. It really feels like coated aluminum to me. But the rear part of it, the sear disconnector, everything is identical. So identical, in fact, that here we go. Clear. This is what I was talking about. Very, very similar, same. I don't want to get them mixed up, so we'll put the Glock one over there. And with the barrels, I mean, come on. In fact, let's see this. This is live. I haven't tried this yet. I know a Gen 3 doesn't fit in the other gun. Yeah, look at that. It locks up perfectly. So if you're like me and you own both guns, man, you could do it up. Do the dally, dally, dally. I don't know what that means. But anyways, so we'll put that over here with the correct gun. We'll put the Glock's barrel back in it. Put the Glock's spring back in it. There you go. And then we're going to take the Derya and do this. So, to my knowledge, I have not seen like the Dagger or any of the other guns capable of taking the Gen 5 slide. It's very interesting how perfect it fits on there, and it functions great. Now, there is a little bit of a, difference there because the Gen 5 is rounded off. But let's say you got a good deal on a slide, or you have an extra slide laying around, you could always knock those down. Not that you need to or would even want to, because this slide is already cut, lightning cut, and has fiber optics, and it has the optics plates. So, I mean, the only reason to do this is if you just wanted a different lower for your Gen 5 and a, frankly, better trigger. But yeah, let's go ahead and take that off. Hey, don't do that. People need to go there and check things out. We'll take the slide, take the barrel, take everything, put it back together, take your spring, just like a Glock, which gives it the benefit of having full compatibility. Yay. And again, nice and easy, goes right back together. Let's go ahead and slide this top back on. Look, he's a lefty. I shoot both ways. Also, don't ask why I don't have any hair. Things happen. But yeah, that is a quick look, he says, as he realizes it's a 15-minute video, at the Derya Arms DY9 compact pistol in 9mm. It's Gen 5 compatible for the slide, and it has a better trigger, and it has a mag well, and it feels better, and has removable back straps, and yeah, at $3.25, sometimes under $300 if you buy a base model. Is this a exceptionally good deal? No, but it's a good deal, and you should definitely check it out, especially if you're on a budget and you say you don't like the Taurus line. Taurus is fine, but people say they still don't trust it. Check out Derya, man. Their shotguns from Rock Island were pretty cool, and this gun actually feels really solid. The texturing and the design, they need to improve that. Maybe just kind of flatten all this and just give it stippling all the way around, because like this is useless stippling and this is very useless stippling. However, the polymer feels good and you can have it stippled. May have my buddy Greg do a stipple job on this. Yeah. Although I have to get a Gen 5 barrel for it. What can you do? But if you like this video, leave a comment. Leave a comment and a comment on a comment. And just tell me what you like about it, what you hate about it. People are going to say, oh, it's a gosh dang clone. Yeah, it's a clone. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But come back for another video. Hit the like button. Join me on lives Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. And as always, I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.